Hello grade 10s and welcome to another computer applications technology lesson. Right now we're going to be dealing with spreadsheets. Here we go. So the important information that you need to know is that a spreadsheet is an application that contains a table with rows and columns. Okay, here is a simple spreadsheet. Okay. So you have your columns which are vertical and your rows which are horizontal. Now I want you to know that the blocks that make up the rows and columns in a table are called cells. So a cell is a point of intersection between a row and a column. Okay. The main strength of a spreadsheet is the ability to perform numerical calculations. It is important to note that spreadsheets can also represent data or information in the form of a chart or a graph. Now a spreadsheet file is called a workbook. A workbook consists of one or more worksheets. Columns are identified by letters or alphabets, and rows are identified by numbers or digits, so whole numbers basically. Now a group of adjacent cells is called a cell range. I just want to show you here, right? This is the active cell and it's on A1. Okay, so you start with the column reference and then row reference, right? Alphabet before number. Now we come to the terminology of spreadsheets. A function is a built-in procedure to do calculations in a spreadsheet. Please note that functions are built into the computer. A formula is a user-defined calculation that uses mathematical operators combined with numerical data. Okay, so a formula, you will have the four mathematical operators plus, minus, times, divide, combined with numerical data either on its own or in cells. Now it is important to note that both functions and formulas always start with the equal sign in a spreadsheet. Here are some of the functions that you are expected to know. You have the sum function. The sum function adds all the values that you specify in the cell range. Then you have the average function. The average function calculates the average or arithmetic mean of a set of values. The mean function returns the minimum value in a specific cell range. The max function, it finds the maximum value in a specific cell range. The count function counts the number of cells that contain numerical values. So count, as long as it's a number, it will count it. Today, it returns the serial number of the current date. So when you type in is equal to today, open bracket, close bracket, it will give the current date as set on the computer. Mode calculates the most frequently occurring value or most repetitive value in an array or range of data. Median returns the number in the middle of a set of numbers. It is important to note that when the computer calculates the median, it will arrange those numbers in ascending order first. Quartile, it returns the quartile of a set. So please note that Q0 is the minimum value, Q1 is the first quartile, Q2 is the median, Q3 is the third quartile, Q4 is the maximum value. When you insert multiple arguments in a spreadsheet, it is important that you separate them with a semicolon. Now you have error indicators, right? When you have hash 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 hash, this is because the column is not wide enough to display the numerical cell contents, and the solution is to widen the column. When you have the hashtag name exclamation mark error indicator, this occurs when an incorrect function name is used, and the solution is to make sure that the spelling of the function name or names is correct. The hashtag div/0 exclamation mark error indicator is shown when the formula tries to divide by 0 or by a cell reference with no value, which is not possible in mathematics, right? So remember, in mathematics, anything divided by 0 is undefined. On the calculator, it will give you a syntax error. Okay. The resolution for this is to correct the cell reference or make sure that the denominator or the divisor is not 0 or the cell that is being divided is not empty. Okay. The hashtag ref exclamation mark error indicator appears when the cell reference is not valid anymore, which happens when the cells is deleted. The solution is to make sure that the correct cell reference is used. Hashtag value exclamation mark error indicator appears when the cells have an incorrect data type. For example, when you are multiplying words rather than numbers in a calculation, the solution is to make sure that the cell value is correct. Hashtag num exclamation mark. This one appears when you are performing an impossible calculation or a number is too big for for the spreadsheet to display. Like maybe a million to the power of million. So the solution is to make sure that the correct cell values are used. Hashtag n/a. This appears when data is missing. So the solution is to make sure that the arguments in the function are correct and are used in the correct position. The type of graphs, that the main types, right, for your level that you may be required to insert in a spreadsheet are column charts, which are useful for showing data changes over a period of time or illustrating comparisons among items. The line chart or line graphs, which is ideal for showing trends in data, right, over a time interval. The pie chart, which displays data points as percentages of the whole pie. Bar graph. In a spreadsheet, a bar graph is when the items you're comparing are on the y-axis. It's called a bar chart. XY chart or scatter chart is typically used for displaying and comparing numeric values, such as scientific values, bivariate statistical data, as well as engineering data. Bivariate is when you have two variables. For example, the question may say, learners who pass well in mathematics also pass well in computer applications technology. Please take that down. I modified this from the Via Africa Study Guide. Number 1 states, what do we call an application that contains a table with rows and columns? It is called a spreadsheet. Okay. Number 2 asks, what do we call the intersection of a column and a row on a spreadsheet? That is called a cell. Number 3 asks, what is the main strength of a spreadsheet? And we know it is the ability to perform numerical calculations. Okay. Number 4 asks, what do we call a spreadsheet file? Remember, a spreadsheet file is called a workbook. Okay. Number 5 asks, how are columns identified? Remember, columns are identified by letters, or alphabets. Okay. Number 6 asks, how are rows identified? Remember, rows are identified by numbers. Number 7 states, write down the cell reference for each of the following. 7.1, column A and row 4. Remember, I said alphabet first. So, column A and row 4, the reference is A4. 7.2, column B and row 7, the reference is B7. Column D and row 12, the reference is D12. 7.4, column G and row 19, the reference is G19. And 7.5, column K and row 28, the reference is K28. Okay. Number 8 asks, what do we call a group of adjacent cells? Remember, a group of adjacent cells is called a cell range. Number 9 asks, write down the cell range for each of the following. Roman numeral number 1, we have B1, C1, D1, B2, C2, D2, B3, C3, D3. Okay, so what I'd like to show you, so it says B1, C1, D1, right? And then B2, C2, D2. Sorry about that. And then B3, C3, D3. Okay, the first cell is at the top left side, so here, and the last cell is at the bottom right, so here, right? So the cell range for this is, top left is B1, and then bottom right is D3, right? Roman numeral number 2, my mistake. You have G11, G12, G13, G14, H11, H12, H13, H14. So once more, let's separate. So it's H11. Oh my, it's actually G first. So G11, right? And then G12, and then G13, and then G14. And then H11, then H12, and then H13, and then H14. Remember, top left to bottom right. So top left is G11, so it's going to be bottom right H14. Number 10 states, name the data type in each of the following examples. 10.1, beef stock. So beef stock is just general. But we'll also accept text, right? So 10.2, you have that number, plus 2782 390 5036. So in case you don't know, that's my phone number with the international South African code. Okay, since it's my phone number, you know phone numbers are not used in numerical calculations, right? So it's a number that is not used in calculations, so text. 10.3 is equal to 9,11. So this is a number that is used in a calculation. And it's in 2 decimal places. 10.4, 14H15. So you should already see that this indicates time. 1 October 2024, that's 10.5. So you should be aware that this indicates date. 10.6, 100 Rand and 50 cents. So this is currency. It's in rands. So this is currency, but examiners will also accept it when you specify that this is accounting. Yeah. So number 11 states, write down the formula that you would enter for each of the following calculations. Roman numeral number 1, add the values in cells L1 and L100. Remember, in a spreadsheet you always begin with an equal sign. Add, it's plus, so L1 and L100, so it's going to be is equal to L1 plus L100. Okay. Roman numeral number 2, multiply the values in cells P50 and P6. So it's going to be equal to, multiply its times. So it's going to be P50 times P6. Please note that times in a spreadsheet is it's an asterisk. Roman numeral number 3 states, subtract 25 from the value in cell Q20. So you know that the number that is being subtracted comes afterwards, right? So it's going to be is equal to, where are we subtracting? Q20. So Q20 subtract minus, we're subtracting 25. I hope that makes sense. Roman numeral number 4 states, divide the value in cell R15 by 31. So the value that we are dividing by comes afterwards. So it's going to be the value in R15 divided by 31. Please note that divide is on in Excel, right? Roman numeral number 5 states, add the values in cells S5 and S6 first, and then multiply by 45. So, when you have calculation first, so add is going to be S5 plus S6 first, right? And then multiply by 45. Right. Roman numeral number 6. Multiply the values in cells T8 and T10 first, and then subtract the value in cell T11. So going to start with is equal to, multiply the values in T8 and T10. So T8 times T10 first, and then subtract the value in cell T11. So it's going to be minus T11. Okay. Number 12 asks, what do we call a predefined spreadsheet formula that performs a calculation? So a predefined formula is called a function. Number 13 asks, what do we call an equation which does calculations and displays the result in the cell in which it was entered? That can either be a function, but since it's non-specific, it doesn't mention predefined, so it is formula. Okay, I hope that wasn't too hard. So this is the second part of what we will be doing in the second segment. So it will focus on error indicators. If you found this video helpful in any way, please click the like button and subscribe for more content. I hope to see you again, and thank you very much.